Welcome back to the Cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, while Bitcoin remains chopping around in this same sideways price range, bouncing between support and resistance, we are seeing new price targets being revealed in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is also still bouncing around between this same support and a resistance on this chart right here, while the price of XRP is getting extremely close to breaking below a very important area of support, which could potentially signal much lower price targets. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trader indicator is still sitting in the red, indicating a larger bear market or a larger correction in the price of Bitcoin. And we're still playing out this massive bearish divergence, technically still active on the weekly time frame. So of course, over the last one day, not a lot has changed on the larger time frames. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, once again, we're still within the much larger multi-month bearish trend. We've not yet fully confirmed the end or the reversal out of that trend, but at least for now, in the somewhat short to midterm, we're still simply bouncing around in a somewhat sideways price range between support and resistance. Obviously, we still have a lot of support here at pretty much exactly 60,000. We also have some more short-term support at give or take 63,000, and we have a lot of resistance at close towards around 72,000, especially even around 71 to 72,000 as a key area of resistance in the short term. And while we're simply playing out this choppy sideways price action, bouncing between this support and resistance, of course, we're also playing out this oversold signal in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, as I've been talking about every day for close to a month now, actually. Obviously, still perfectly playing this out, which means expect some sort of break from the bearish trend, kind of like what we saw just here, which is exactly what we've been seeing over the last few weeks. Obviously, over the last few weeks, we have been holding above the local low at 60,000 as expected, playing out the oversold signal. But remember, an oversold signal by itself does not guarantee we've hit the bottom. It is entirely possible that we could ultimately continue that larger bearish trend lower later on. And so once again, not a lot has changed on this chart over the last one day. So if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 2-hour Bitcoin price chart, we can see very clearly that the price is still basically just bouncing around relatively sideways, exactly as predicted. Obviously, this is exactly what I've been saying for weeks now on the channel. Expect a lot of choppy sideways price action, which means both short-term bullish movements and short-term bearish moves, but overall not really moving in any direction, just kind of bouncing around relatively sideways. So that is still my prediction moving forward, considering right now it's not really changed. We're still playing out that prediction. And of course, watch out for oversold signals and overbought signals, because those are signals on the price chart here on the 2-hour Bitcoin RSI telling us that we're likely at some sort of turnaround point, at least in terms of short-term moves in the price of Bitcoin, either some sort of bounce, for example, if we're hitting oversold, or some sort of rejection or pullback, for example, if we're hitting overbought. And of course, over the last one day, we actually did not make it all the way towards overbought. We got closer towards overbought before we started this slight little cool off here. But overall, we're still relatively neutral. If we're looking at the RSI, we reset out of oversold, went back towards the upside. Now we're actually slightly below neutral, but very, very neutral for the most part in terms of the momentum or the trend in the short term here. And so most likely between now and when the US stock market opens back up again over the next one day, between now and then, it's likely the price will somewhat stabilize in this range for a little while, kind of just not really play out any significant move. Once again, looking relatively neutral. And then depending on what the US stock market does when it opens back up again, that could potentially signal the next major move in about a day from now, for example. And so we simply just have to be patient, wait for the US stock market to open to really give us that next strong signal. And in the meantime, between now and then, expect basically choppy sideways price action within this range right here, which is still all playing out as predicted. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we have some new short-term price targets to watch out for. First of all, we still have that liquidity to the downside at around 62.4K approximately, but we now have new liquidity building just above the price of Bitcoin at around 68.2K to 68.4K. And so just watch out for those levels on the price chart for the price of Bitcoin, because usually the price of Bitcoin tends to be drawn towards where we have a lot of liquidity, especially if those levels of liquidity are relatively close to the price. Now, as always, there's no such thing as a 100% guarantee, so keep that in mind, but there's a high chance that ultimately one of these levels, or potentially both of these levels in the coming days, will ultimately be hit. And so overall, that's my prediction in the imminent short term, waiting for that US stock market to open to really signal the next major move, and the key levels to watch out for. And overall, midterm, longer term, not really changed at all over the last 1 day. So those are my exact predictions and price targets moving forward. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use the first link below the video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link below the video will take you to this page right here over on the 2bit crypto exchange, which by the way is a no KYC exchange and is an exchange that I personally use myself. And simply just by trading crypto using that first link below the video, you can take advantage of up to $3.5 million worth of rewards here simply just by trading crypto using that first link below the video. So this is celebrating 2bit's third birthday, as we can see right here. And so obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway or preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well check this out and take advantage of this. Once again, first link below the video to potentially get some extra prizes along with your regular crypto trading that you'll be doing anyway, of course. And once again, in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and I'll keep this quick because not a lot has changed over the last 1 day. Overall, the Bitcoin dominance is still basically telling us that a lot of the altcoin market on average will still likely be performing very similar to whatever Bitcoin does. So really just pay attention to my Bitcoin analysis and Bitcoin price targets to figure out what is likely going to happen for a lot of the altcoins, is what this is still telling us right now in the Bitcoin dominance. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, we're still trying to play out this oversold signal in the 3-day Ethereum RSI, which means most likely a little bit more of a sideways consolidation in this sideways price range still to come in the coming days or possibly weeks, kind of similar to what we saw back here around end of November, all of December, and even early January this year. But obviously, just like what we saw back here, even though we were seeing some choppy sideways price action, a slight little relief, a break from all of the bearish price action, even though that was playing out for, in fact, a little over a month, that was not the end or the reversal out of the larger bearish trend. So keep that in mind, understand the difference between the different time frames, the somewhat short to midterm, talking about a period of weeks, if not months, still ultimately chopping around sideways. But if we're talking about the multi-month, larger or longer term trend, technically this is still currently bearish, as we can see right here. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, right now the price of ETH is still perfectly bouncing between my exact support and resistance levels that I've been talking about for a long time now on the channel, for many weeks now, still sitting at around just above 1.8k, around 1810 to 1820 as the Fibonacci level of support to watch out for, and strong resistance at just above 2.1k, especially around 2150, acting as a key level of resistance. And so once again, like I've been saying every day since we saw this local low back down here, we're likely just going to bounce around relatively sideways in this range right here in the coming weeks. And obviously, since I've been saying that, we've been exactly playing that out as predicted, and this will likely continue a little longer moving forward, at least in the coming days or possibly even another couple of weeks, kind of like what we saw back here, for example. And if we're taking a look at the 2-hour Ethereum price chart, once again, we can clearly see the choppy sideways price action in the shorter term, simply just reversing any previous move that's happened. So if we're seeing, for example, a bearish move, we're just undoing the previous bullish move, we're just undoing the previous bearish move, undoing the previous bullish move, so on and so forth, just chopping around in a sideways price range, still playing out as predicted. But remember, Ethereum will likely follow very similar price action to whatever Bitcoin does, which means, of course, if Bitcoin's playing out this slight little pullback in the imminent short term, and then let's just say if we at some stage in the next day start to see another slight little bounce to remain just bouncing around sideways in a bit of a range at the moment, expect something similar for Ethereum, which suggests potentially a slight bearish move to continue a little further, and then soon enough some sort of bounce again, whether it's at this low or this low, either way remaining in this range right here on the daily Ethereum price chart, at least for a little longer over the coming days. And so that is still my prediction here, still playing out obviously. And in terms of short-term moves, of course, these flip basically every day, so understand the difference between between the different timeframes. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 3-day time frame, it's a similar situation here. The much larger multi-month trend is technically still bearish, but in terms of the short to mid-term, talking about a period of weeks, if not maybe a month or so, ultimately we're still just bouncing around in a sideways price range, exactly as predicted, playing out this oversold signal in the 3-day Solana RSI. So this is all still playing out here. Of course, we still have strong support here at around $75 to $80, and we have a lot of resistance in between $95 to $105. We also have some short-term resistance at pretty much exactly $90. If we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 2-hour Solana price chart, obviously we came very close to overbought over the last one day. First of all, just around 1 to 2 days ago, we hit oversold, like I said in my last video, which helped to cause this little bounce moving forward, ultimately remaining in the range, obviously just bouncing around relatively sideways as we can see. But as soon as we got closer towards overbought, that was once again a signal telling us to expect potentially a little cool off. And ultimately, this is also just following Bitcoin and other major altcoins with this slight little pullback that we're seeing in the short term, which is simply just undoing the previous move, as we've seen time and time again. And so ultimately continue to expect a lot more sideways price action within this range, which once again is made up of both short-term bullish movements and short-term bearish movements, chopping around within a range. So that is still my prediction moving forward, still playing out exactly as predicted. And if we're taking a look at XRP on the weekly time frame, in terms of the long-term multi-month trend, this is all still bearish, as I've been warning about for a very long time now on the channel. But in terms of short-term moves, right now, we're still testing this crucial area of support here, not yet fully confirmed the break towards the downside, and that support is still sitting at around $1.30 to $1.40. So keep that in mind. We've not yet confirmed the break, but if we actually confirm a break below $1.30, especially with a weekly candle close below that level, and especially if we fail to get back above $1.30, in that situation, the next target towards the downside would easily be $1.13, as the next target is a very likely scenario if we first confirm a break below $1.30, and below all of those levels, if we fall below around $1.13, $1.12, in that situation, the next major target is in between 90 cents to $1. And so in other words, yes, if we see a confirmed break below $1.30 and fail to get back above that level, it is quite likely we could potentially see roughly a 30% dump still to come after all of this that we've seen over the last half a year or so. And so this is definitely a crucial area of support for the bulls to hold, because once again, as I just mentioned, if we fail to hold this area, expect these lower price targets to come as a very likely scenario. So obviously all of this still not looking too good on the weekly time frame, but if we're taking a look at the 3-day time frame, of course, over the last couple of weeks, we have been trying to play out this oversold signal, which is just a shorter term signal. It does not guarantee we've hit the bottom. Remember, the larger multi-month trend still currently bearish, but this signal has helped the price, at least just in the short term, have a slight little break from that bearish trend, and at least for now continue to hold above these local lows, which are currently sitting at roughly around $1.13. And in terms of immediate short-term moves for the price of XRP, once again expect a very similar price action as to what Bitcoin is doing, which means if Bitcoin's having this slight little bearish move, expect something similar to this for a lot of the altcoin market like XRP in the short term. And if we're taking a look at Chainlink on the 3-day time frame, it's a similar situation for Chainlink. Obviously right now we're still just bouncing around in this range in the short to mid-term during the much larger multi-month bearish trend. So not a lot changed here over the last one day. We still have strong support in between $7.90 to $8.50 and strong resistance in between $9.50 to $10. And we're also still trying to play out this oversold signal in the 3-day Chainlink RSI, telling us to expect most likely some more choppy sideways price action within this range, which is all still playing out exactly as predicted. And if we're taking a look at the 2-hour Chainlink price chart, obviously right now we're just simply following Bitcoin and other major alts with this slight little pullback, which is simply just undoing the previous bullish move, which is basically what a sideways price range is, just undoing the previous move. And so expect this sort of price action to continue at least in the coming hours or possibly possibly days, potentially up until the stock market opens back up again. And then depending on how the stock market performs over the next 1 day or so when it opens back up again, that could potentially provide a signal for where the market is finally heading next. But between now and then, expect basically more of the same as a very likely scenario. So those are my exact predictions and the key levels and price targets to watch out for moving forward. And obviously longer term trends not changed over the last 1 day. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of crypto or any crypto, in the price of Chainlink or any crypto here, then make sure to check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to take advantage of massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto, no matter what the price is doing, no matter what direction the price goes, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.